Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Trek Canon, people. So we are back doing what we do best, and that is talk about Star Trek. And what better day than talk about Star Trek than today? Because why? Season 3, Episode 1 and 2 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds has premiered, with Episode 1 being a second part of the Season 2 cliffhanger Hegemony. So it's Hegemony Part 2. Now listen, I'm gonna say off the bat, y'all know I like to go my off the bat. Off the bat, I don't think this was a good entry as far as starting off season 3, man, with a bang. I don't think it went that way. And let me tell you my gripes. Here's a few of my gripes. I understand that season 3 is going to be a whole lot of things that you're going to have to bridge the gap between the menagerie or the cage and this last season. It's going to be a whole lot of plots and stuff that you're going a whole lot of loose ends that they're going to have to tie up that they didn't do in season 1 and season 2. So, and one of those plot points is going to be the Gorn. Here's the thing. There's not much talked about the Gorn in Star Trek canon in general. As a matter of fact, Strange New Worlds has brought more about the Gorn into Star Trek canon than any other series. The only other series that had a Gorn in it, from classic Trek, would be the Star Trek, the original series episode, The Arena, where I could talk about the inconsistencies of how that particular Gorn was portrayed and how these reptilic, raptor-type Gorn are being portrayed. But, let's just chalk that up to that particular Gorn was just so tanky that he couldn't move as fast as everybody else. He was just one of those built, buff, Bolo Young type dudes. He was a Bolo Young Gorn. Anyway, look. Star Trek Strange New Worlds had so much of an opportunity to bring so much canon to the Gorn. Think of how the Next Generation, what they did with the Klingons, or what Deep Space Nine did with the Ferengi or the Trill. The same thing could have been done with the Gorn in Strange New Worlds. Not forgetting the whole little inconsistency thing with Bolo Young Gorn. They could have fleshed out so much of the culture, so much of the technology, so much of why they're a threat, besides them being, okay, well, we're using people for food and, in sport. It's so much they could have fleshed out. And I didn't think that they got the opportunity to do it that much in what we've been seeing so far. Think of this episode in itself. I think this episode was so rushed. Okay, what's going on in this episode basically is this. La'an wakes up out of the cocoons on a Gorn ship and everything. And basically, she got to get like 4 or 5 people together, Dr. Mbenga, the pilot, all those type of people, basically try to save the colonists and everything that's up inside these, inside this digestive chamber of the ship, which is weird. But anyway, here's the thing. They cover a little bit about the, PTSD that we all know La'an has about her and the Gorn and her losing her brother on the Gorn, planet and everything like that. And, it kind of shows how she was going through that. I like the way they show her handling it. Look, here's the thing. Starfleet pilots are awesome. We'll just say that. Starfleet pilots are awesome. And they have to find some kind of way to get... Sorry about all the pauses, people. I'm out here on the front porch, man. They got cars going back and forth, man. I don't want that all up in the video. But they got to find some kind of way to get Ortega and Chekhov, or whoever the new pilot is going to be. Because in season 1 of Star Trek, the original series, right, you didn't have Chekhov. He didn't come into like season 2, but you had a bunch of different other pilots. So I want to see how they bridge the gap between Ortega and the new pilots that they bring in, because it seems like they're going to be trying to do that with the issue that she had. Now, first of all, spoilers. Y'all know how I roll. There are going to be spoilers in this. Now, anyway, we switch between them trying to get off of this Gorn colony ship, man, and then between, Nurse Chapel and Spock and them, man, trying to save Captain Pike's girlfriend, I forget what her name is, man, because she got infected with the Gorn, man, and now she got these, Gorn baby, ampules that's popping up on her back, man, and, they're trying to figure out a way to save her life. Of course, since they brung in that Khan's blood is, that augmented blood is somehow, the cure-all, save-all, cure tribbles and cure Kirks and radiation poisoning and all this kind of stuff. Of course, they use Una's blood because her society is augments, right? Some of her blood to help stabilize the ladies so that they can do the treatment. Like, first of all, I don't know why it is that they substitute actual Starfleet medical know-how with, just this little, hey, we got super blood or we got this super, no, man. You know how long it took Bones, man, Dr. Crusher, you know, Bashir and all those types of people, man, toiling, trying to figure out what's working and what doesn't work. Why do all that when we could just simply go get Una's blood or Khan's blood, man, and just solve everything? I think that that's a cop out in the new Trek. As a matter of fact, it's not a lot of techno babble in new Trek. Techno babble was one of the hallmarks, man, the cornerstones of Star Trek problem solving and analysis. Man, you know, we get in here and they just like, make it go. Okay, well, it's going to make a flare. And, you know, the person who talking the most science was Uhura, you know, and sometimes Spock. Let me tell you something, Spock. I don't know if this is Star Trek, universe 2 or something like that. But here's the thing. Spock wasn't really ever feeling Nurse Chapel like that. If you ever look at the original series, you know, Nurse Chapel was feeling Spock like that, yeah, but Spock wasn't trying to, you know, hook up with her like that. That wasn't really his thing, you know what I'm saying? They still trying to continue that, but it looks like they're trying to break their relationship apart, but still making it look like Spock is some kind of simp, man, and I don't really like that. Of course, like I said, Uhura is always a standout, man. You know, she's always awesome to me. She does her thing. But Pike, here's the thing about Captain Pike, and I didn't get this impression from the Menagerie Part 1 and 2 or The Cage. Pike seems like he can't really come up with a plan. Like, in the thick of it, man, he needs like somebody, all right, ideas, and everybody start throwing out ideas. You know, that hasn't really been a cornerstone, again, of Star Trek tactics and strategy when it comes to, you know, red alerts and battle thing on the bridge. Usually everybody like, Captain, orders, what's your orders? All right, this is what we're going to be doing, this is the thing. I'm gonna need you to do this. I'm gonna need you to do that. Yeah. That's usually how it goes. I see that Pike refers to his crew's advice way too much. Like, it's a whole lot of that. Like, every time they get into something, it's like a, hey, all right, ideas. Anybody? I don't like that. Another thing that I thought it was interesting that they covered and they threw in there, but it's kind of inconsistent. Let me tell you something. Scotty is a genius. Whether or not, you know, things are about, whether or not S is about to hit the fan or not, Scotty is a genius. Scotty don't need to have the ship about to blow up for him to work miracles. Yeah, he can, undoubtedly work miracles. When everything is on the line, yeah, he can undoubtedly work miracles. But guess what? Scotty's miracle working doesn't, you know, stop at, oh man, I can't figure it out unless, oh my God, somebody came in talking about red alert. Nah, man, that ain't how Scotty is. Scotty, look, let me tell you something. Scotty was writing books on Starfleet engineering. You think he was doing that when a long time he was able to do that was when it was a red alert or something. His life was, the ship was about to be in danger. Come on, man, don't even do my boy Scotty like that. Listen, all around this episode, like I said, it wasn't really what I was really expecting, what I've been waiting for as far as, the grand opening and, you know, second part of Strange New Worlds. You know, I've been waiting on this for a while. You know, it seemed like about 2.5 years. You know, I've been waiting to see where they go with this. Now, listen, let me tell you something. I think that the Gorn is going to be kind of an afterthought. Let me tell you why. I think they wanted to go ahead and get rid of the Gorn real quick. The thing is that, like I said, the Gorn wasn't really a big threat in Star Trek canon. And it seems that they found a way to kind of make them go into long-term hibernation. Right. So this episode seemed like, man, they was just trying to cut up, trying to tie up loose ends, trying to get everything that they had put in motion in season 1 and season 2, you know, just, hey, let's try to wrap up everything we can, man. Let's try to do this so that we could spend season 3 bridging the gap, hopefully, between the Menagerie 1 and 2 or the Cage and, you know, the whole prophecy or the destiny that Captain Pike is going to have, and how they're going to end up starting to switch over members of the Enterprise bridge crew to get to what we know of as the Star Trek, the original series crew, you know, that we know of. Now, here's the thing. I don't mind that, you know, season 1 and season 2 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. Like I said, I thought it was cool. There are some things that was inconsistent, but like I said, it looked like they trying to close all that up. Because, listen, so you figure out that the light that the Gorn use to communicate, right, is actually radiation, right? What we're going to do, right, is we're going to attract the solar material from both of these two suns that's right near us, right? And I know for a fact that they was having problems with entering coronaspheres and all that kind of stuff Even in the next generation, the Galaxy class ship couldn't do that until that Ferengi dude came up with those solar shields. Like, so I got a problem with what was going on. I'm probably going to talk about that on Inconsistent Trek. But man, they end up, basically mimicking the solar cycles that make the Gorn go into long-term hibernation, right? But here's the thing. Here's why the people who write Star Trek had to historically be kind of smart, right? Because you're trying to tell me that you forced the Gorn into hibernation, right? Based on the radiation and, mimicking some type of solar alignment and all this kind of stuff. And then you turned it off. Wouldn't the Gorn come out of hibernation and get just as aggressive as they was based on that solar pattern that's going on? Like the Gorn would be like, it's time to go to sleep. And then he'd be like, turn it off. Oh, I'm tripping. Let's get back to attacking the Federation and let's get back to getting our food. No, man. They just stay asleep. They were like, man, we just gonna stay asleep. That's what we gonna do. Anyway, man, let me know what you guys thought of season 3, episode 1. The cliffhanger part 2, conclusion of Hegemony. Let me know what you guys think of Strange New Worlds, how they kicking off the season, man. Let me know what y'all think, the expectation. What do y'all expect to happen for this season? How they're gonna bridge the gap between this and Menagerie 1 and 2. Because let me tell you what I think the final episode of season 3 of Strange New Worlds should be. It should be the events of Spock getting a message from the Telosians talking about hey, listen, man, we think go get Pike from out of the hospital, man, bring him over here and all of that. We're going to hook him up with Vera. Yeah, we know that he in love with this captain, so we're going to we're going to have to kind of figure out how to get the captain's love out of his life so we could get Vera, all right. The final episode should be basically a prequel to the Menagerie 1. No, it should be a prequel to the Menagerie 1 and 2, right? That it should be the prequel to that. The mid-season of Star Trek Strange New Worlds should be the Cage, right? It should be that. And then the end of the season should be the Menagerie 1 and 2, what led up to all of that, what was going on in the background. It would be an extended version of the Menagerie 1 and 2. We could consider it the Menagerie part 3 and 4. So that's why I'm hoping they go. But anyway, man, let me know what you guys thought of the episode. Leave it in the comments. Please leave a like for the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And as always, peace, recycle, and say to whales, you guys be cool.